So why do we get symptoms? Why do symptoms change? And why do we get new symptoms? In this video, I'm going to share a model that can help give insight into those questions, and also give insights into what may help you move forward towards your health goals. So I have shared this model with doctors and I've got very useful positive feedback. And if you feel like I've missed a component, feel free to let me know. So let's get into it. So consider that there are a number of factors influencing our health, including heredity. Now consider that some people believe that they're at the mercy of their genes, but we know that there is a field of research which is fairly new called epigenetics. And what epigenetics tells us is that stress can influence what genes are switched on, what genes are switched off. Michael Meany from McGill University in Canada did some very interesting and groundbreaking research. He found that baby rats who were nurtured by their mother were more resilient to stress in later life, whereas those rats that weren't were more prone to stress. So environment is important. If people are living in a war zone, that's obviously very stressful. If someone is living with someone who exhibits narcissistic behavior, that's obviously going to be stressful. So the next factor is medical intervention. Of course, medical intervention can be life-saving, but it can also cause health issues. Our access to resources is going to influence our health. If someone has good income, they've got more access and more choices. You know, maybe if they're stressed, they can go and have a massage. Someone who hasn't got that financial flexibility maybe might drink or smoke or take drugs as a way of relaxing, okay? And our mindset also influences our health. For example, our mindset influences our beliefs. So, for example, there's some research where one group of people were given a video to watch which said that stress is bad. Another group was given a video which said that stress was good. When they followed up both groups 5 weeks later, the group who'd watched the stress is bad video had more symptoms than the other group. Okay, so mindset and beliefs are important. Our mindset and our beliefs can influence our lifestyle. So for example, someone who's healthy and fit has a very different mindset to someone who maybe is overweight and doesn't do much exercise. There's no shaming about that. For example, the person who is overweight, maybe they've experienced trauma, maybe they don't have a good relationship to themselves, they don't have self-love, self-care, which would motivate them to eat well, have good sleep hygiene, exercise, etc. Okay, so the point I'm making here is that our mindset can influence the way we live our lives. When these things are in balance, we get good health. But when they're out of balance, one or more of these factors, then that can actually add stress to our experience. There are 3 types of stress. There's acute physical stress, for example, being exposed to a virus. There's chronic physical stress, for example, having an ongoing health challenge like ME, CFS, long COVID, fibromyalgia. And then there's psychological stress. Again, if we're experiencing any of these stresses or combination of these stresses, then that's going to mean it's going to have an impact on that upper level. So as I've already said, if we're in a state of stress, that's going to affect the way our genes work. It's going to affect our mindset. If I'm stressed, maybe I'm more likely to stay up late and maybe seek pleasure from watching videos, etc., rather than having an early night. I'm much more likely when I'm stressed to eat things that are not good for me. All right, so the point is stress can impact the way we live our lives. So when we're in a state of stress, it affects key functions. Number one, it affects our energy. When we're in a state of stress, producing and storing energy isn't a priority. For example, if you're in a life-threatening situation, and therefore that is switched off. What that means is if you have a fatigue-related issue like ME, CFS, fibromyalgia, long COVID, then if you're in a state of stress, your body stops producing and storing energy, which means when you use your energy, you're not replacing it, you're going to run out of energy. That's going to result in symptoms and more stress. It can affect our thinking. When we're stressed, we're more prone to being reactive. Therefore, people say things that they later regret when they're stressed. It affects our digestion. Our digestive system is suppressed. That means we're not digesting our food properly. That means we're not utilizing the nutrients efficiently, and the cells aren't getting what they need. It can affect our sleep. We're more likely to sleep lightly, and we're not achieving deep, refreshing delta sleep, which is when the body carries out important repair functions so that we're ready to go the next day. All right, so if we're having ongoing sleep issues, that's going to massively impact our health and energy. It's going to affect our immune system. According to research, we're 3 times more likely to get a cold when we're stressed. Okay, so if those key functions are being affected, then that is going to then result in more stress, and it's also going to drive our symptoms. So now we're experiencing a whole bunch of symptoms. If we're experiencing symptoms, that's going to impact our health. Okay, it's also going to impact our stress levels, as we've just said. It's going to further impact those key functions. Okay, if I'm experiencing symptoms, then maybe I'm not able to exercise. If I'm not able to exercise, that's going to affect my sleep. Okay, when I don't exercise enough, I don't sleep as well. So if these things are being affected, if our health is being affected, again, that's going to drive the stress. That's going to drive the key functions being affected. That's going to result in more symptoms. Okay, so this is why we get our additional symptoms, and this pattern repeats itself. So now we get even more symptoms, and some of these symptoms might be new symptoms that we haven't experienced before. Now, if you go to your doctor and you say, look, I haven't got energy, then, your doctor might give you something for that. I know someone who had energy issues, and I looked at the medication they were prescribed, and the active ingredient was caffeine. If the fact that taking that tablet makes them feel better, they feel more relaxed, and now the body starts doing the healing work, then that could get them back on track. But with this person, it didn't help. Taking the caffeine tablets was like giving them a quick high, but then that resulted in a crash. And it's only when they went to see someone trained in nutrition and complementary approaches, they took a very different approach, which meant addressing their diet, taking supplements, and they addressed their stress. And those things in combination got them completely back to wellness. Let's say someone's thinking is being affected. For instance, when I was younger, when I was still at school, I was experiencing a lot of anxiety, and my doctor prescribed medication for that. Didn't really have any effect on the anxiety, but I did just feel a little more drowsy. So I stopped taking it after a few days, and I realized I had to do other things to address my stress. If our digestion is being affected, maybe the doctor will give you something for that. Again, is it solving the problem, or is it a sticking plaster? If someone's experiencing sleep issues, the National Health Service website says that sleep medication should, number 1, be a last resort, and number 2, a short-term option. Okay, and if you look at the side effects of some of the sleep medications, one of the side effects is fatigue, which is the very issue people with ME, CFS, fibromyalgia, long COVID are trying to address. Okay, so finally, people might have immune issues. I know a few people who are taking medications for supporting their immunity. And again, if that helps them feel better, that's great. It's also important to address the other factors that need addressing. So, for example, when I had ME, CFS, I recognized after a while that my mindset wasn't supporting my recovery. I was very fearful. I was very fearful of doing activity, that it would make me worse. And that was understandable because my body wasn't working. But that fear wasn't supporting my recovery. At one point, I was really worried that I'd end up in hospital, that people wouldn't believe that I was physically unwell. And that was just making me feel worse. And I realized I had to stop scaring myself silly. And so I had to deal with that psychological stress. For example, if you're a person who says, well, actually, I don't really experience stress, psychological stress. I'm a really cool, relaxed person. And if that's you, then therefore you need to look at the other factors that need addressing. But I was someone who did need to address my mindset, and I needed to address the psychological stress. And actually doing those things actually made a massive difference. This is what helped me go from not being able to walk for 1 minute to being able to play sport for hours, to work full time, to get my life back. It wasn't a linear path. It was very up and down. And, I had to address some of the things that got me sick in the first place. The reason I got sick is I had the tendency to be a worrier. I tended to burn the candle at both ends, and I tended to worry too much about what people thought. Add to that a very stressful job, and that's what resulted in me burning out and going off sick for 8-9 years. Okay, starting to address those things are what helped me get back on track. So I hope that's given you some food for thought. Do leave a comment. Do like the video if you found it helpful. I do talk more about mindset and dealing with psychological stress, exploring mind-body approaches to health. So if you're watching on YouTube, do follow me for more tips and hit the notification button. Then you'll be notified when I release a new video. And I have created a number of playlists, so check those out. There's playlists on topics including dealing with anxiety, dealing with dips and crashes. Okay, so if you've got any questions, let me know. Below this video is a link to my Facebook group where you can get access to lots of free resources. I am a coach who works with people with the conditions I've mentioned, and I offer a 12-week course. If you'd like to know more about that, just put the word course below this video or get in touch and I'll share a link where you can find out more. If you'd like to have a free chat, I'm happy to have a half-hour conversation with you, no charge. I won't be kind of promoting any of my products. I'm happy just to share some resources to help you identify some areas to work on. So if you'd like that, just put the word chat below. If you've got any questions, comment below or get in touch. Keep going, you've got this. Wishing you great health. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.